SHEMBE, the original serpent. I'm getting into the crunch part of this thought experiment, and it always gets deep when we get to the third part of these experiments. FOKTALES, SHEMBE is true. Now I'm going to be explaining Manda language by the way, don't be tripping. You can find the dictionary in the link and know what's happening. So, FOKTALES, SHEMBE is true. The reason why I am doing this is to reveal something very profound. And what I'm going to do is elaborate using one of the spoken sermons by UBUNAZARETHA. I spend a lot of time with UBUNAZARETHA. I regard myself as one of them, as part of them. I just don't know if they would regard me entirely as part of them. I think they would need to have supplications made for them to understand that, oh, hang on, this guy is one of us. Despite the fact that he's different. But one of the things that, one of the most potent sermons ever given that I think my entire life, I've never been so touched in my entire life. I want to say something about UBUNAZARETHA, is that UBUNAZARETHA are the type of people who are godly in the sense that they can tell you an obvious lie, but if you dig, scratch a little bit deeper, right, you find it's actually true. And I'm a witness of this. And what is done is that African people, Zulu people, we tell stories in Ganegwane, and it's part of our culture, and we relate stories so that it can preserve principles that are true, that can be realized at the right point in time. So, for example, I just given an example in the previous video of how the original author put down the Bible, right? And even though there's some obvious lies in it, but if you scratch a little deeper, it's revealing fundamental truth. So what it's spoken about is the fact that if Jesus was regarded as the groom of heaven, the one who was preparing a way for the Christ to show up eminently. The fact that Jesus evidently has not done so 2,000 years later, that's an obvious lie. But if you dig deeper, you realize that that's the whole point of that statement being made, is to reveal that there's someone who will be the groom of heaven, that will prepare, when that person shows up, he will prepare a way for the coming Christ, for the coming Messiah, for the coming Son of Man, that will show up almost eminently within a particular generation. So what I'm going to point out now is that there was a man called SHEMBE that founded the UBUNAZARETHA. I'm not even going to call it a church. I'm going to say UBUNAZARETHA is a movement that is being set up purely for the purpose of making way for the coming Messiah. Right. So now, the promise that the founder made was to say, hey, he basically anointed his two sons to take over the congregation after him. But he disclosed that within the generation of they were alive, that the true Messiah would show up. And now we have his grandchildren. So when he was alive, as SHEMBE was alive, his grandchildren were already alive. So meaning that the grandchildren, the promise was the grandchildren of SHEMBE would see the coming Christ, or who we call INKOSI PHAKAMENI. And what I mean by this is in principle the King of the Jews, the Messiah as described in the Bible as the King of the Jews. To the UBUNAZARETHA believe that King that is described is actually the King of the Zulu people. and is actually going to come to reestablish this kingdom. And this is what I'm going to point out. The Sabbath prayer has one request from the Jehovah God of the Bible. That's the only thing that Shembe asks from the God of the Bible. Look, man, we're here to do whatever you need. We'll observe the Sabbath for you. We got you, man. We got you. So what I'm trying to point out now is there's this Inganegwane that's told. And what I'm trying to point out is that this is how you know that the Bible itself is pretty much Zulu. Because it is the same thing. We tell obvious lies, but if you dig a little bit deeper, it is true. So now something makes Shembe very profound. Something makes Shembe very profound. Is that Shembe now does something that's quite interesting. You know, remember that from the Bible story, Adam and Eve were kicked out of the garden because they listened to the snake. Now, Shembe is different. Shembe is a person who's like, let me go back to it. Let me tell you an obvious truth, but if you investigate, it's a lie. I lied to you, Nick. Right, that's who Shembe is. I'm going to tell you an obvious truth, but if you investigate, I lied to you. Right. Right, so let me actually do this. Here. Alright, so this is what happened with Jesus. Now I want to go to this principle here, UBUNAZARETHA. Founder of UBUNAZARETHA movement. Obvious truth. But if you investigate it, it's actually a lie. Is what I want to point out. So I'm going to tell you this Ganegane that's been told, and this is why I thought it's so profound, and this is why I even believe that even the ministers, God bless the ministers, Abafundis, Abushumayeli, Abumkokeli, wonderful, and like the spirit that inspires somebody to go up and tell these illustrations and make these illustrations. The same way, if you look at the Bible, when Jesus tells parables to the disciples to get them to understand what is coming and what's happening. UBUNAZARETHA do this very well. And this is a story, that's what I want to point out. There's a point in time where the founder of the movement, the supposed founder of the movement, who didn't claim to be the founder, so this is the big contradiction. Isaiah Shembe did not claim to be the founder of the UBUNAZARETHA movement. He claimed that when he went to he was called to Untitled, and he got possessed by a spirit that chose to become Shembe, and that said it was Shembe, and then he got possessed by the spirit. And the purpose of the spirit possessing him was the fact that his people, you notice that his people had now went after the ways of the nations, and now he needed to bring them back. And this was the spirit that founded the UBUNAZARETHA movement, gave him all the details of the UBUNAZARETHA movement. So this is quite interesting, right? So this spirit now is the one that inspires Isaiah Shembe to say, Jehovah is the God of the UBUNAZARETHA. So anybody that's a Christian and holds the Bible, that's familiar. God is Jehovah. Everybody knows that's our God. Everybody's God is Jehovah. If you're a Christian, that's obvious, right? Now, I'm going to tell you the story just so you guys understand. So what happened is, Isaiah Shembe had just passed away, and now the congregation was miserable. They were just crying and mourning over him. You know, there's a song that they sing, "Ooh, Jehovah. Ooh, Jehovah, ooh, see, ooh, si gabadi gina basweli. Hallelujah, hallelujah, si li namabanda sizulwini. Hallelujah, hallelujah, ni namabanda sizulwini. Ni namabanda sizulwini. Yeah, so this is a song that we sing. O Jehovah, O Shield, Jehovah. Sing about things, sing about swelling. Asinalutho esandleni. Sikhumbula impela, ushiyile impela. You know, so it's like saying Jehovah has left us. And a whole lot of Christian denominations would never say Jehovah has left us. So this is how the UBUNAZARETHA felt when the founder of the movement, the supposed founder of the movement, passed away. Now, the successor, the king that came after him, so UBUNAZARETHA are led by a king called, led by INKOSI. And why they do this is because they believe that INKOSI YASE PHAKAMENI is the king that it will come and re-establish what was the Zulu kingdom. So every time, so the founder himself was referred to as INKOSI YASE PHAKAMENI as a promise that INKOSI YASE PHAKAMENI will show up. So now here's what happens now in the story. The son called INKOSI Langa comes and he says, how? UBUNAZARETHA, why are you crying? Why are you weeping? Then he asked this question to the congregation. He says, congregation, who is older between me and my father? And then people just look at him like, what is this guy saying? How can he even ask the question? What is this guy saying? I think we just got load-shedded. We'll continue telling the story. So what happened now is like quite profound, because now INKOSI Langa says, hang on, look, wait, if you really want to see my father, right, since you guys don't understand that I am older, I am actually the custodian of this movement. I am the mnikazi of this movement. I am the custodian. Since you guys don't understand that, and you really want Isaiah SHEMBE, who they call Bombela, he will come in the afternoon service. So UBUNAZARETHA had 2 services, morning service at 9, and the afternoon service at 2 o'clock. Perhaps at that time it was still at 1 o'clock. But so in the afternoon service, what happens is when the people are going back to the church, we just got the lights back. When the people are going back to the church, what happens is now, as they're going into the temple where they pray, this huge snake comes into the temple. And now the congregant starts running away like, whoa, a snake, oh my word, and they're running out. And then this is when INKOSI Langa said, how, Gandhi, why are you guys running away? I thought you guys wanted to see my father again. There is my father. Why are you guys running away? I told you that he would come in the second service. Now you're running away. Why are you running away? So now they all ran towards him because they were afraid of the snake. But didn't you guys ask? You guys were crying and weeping over my father. Why do you want to come to me now? Go to my father. And you're like, no, we ain't going to get that snake. So this is the story that's told straight up in. I think this is one of probably the most beautiful, legendary, stories ever told. Because this story paints a picture that what I'd explained in the previous video, that the groom of heaven is the one that simply paves the way for the true God. Right. This story kind of depicts that the UBUNAZARETHA, the leadership and the spirit that came into that Mfundisi that told the story for the first time, basically was trying to say, guys, remember that Umnikazi webandla is coming, is the king that will come after the founder, the supposed founder. So the founder was never the custodian of the movement. There would be a king that comes after him that would be the custodian. And now the story basically depicts that INKOSI Langa, and that's why the spoken tradition, according to the spoken tradition of UBUNAZARETHA, INKOSI Langa, the king that came after the founder, was actually the true custodian of the movement. Crazy, right? So it's like saying, this is why Jesus said in the Bible, yes, if you've seen me, you've seen the Father, but the Father is greater than I am. The Son of Man that is coming is the one that is doing all these works. And it is He that is greater than I am. So this is what INKOSI Langa was asking the congregants to say, Ubano umkhulu, yimi noma ubaba. I am older, he said, though he is the son, though he is younger, he is older. So the belief here is that when you look at the story, there's a coming son of a man that will show himself to be the custodian of the UBUNAZARETHA movement. So what I'm trying to say this here now is that what happened was the fact that SHEMBE, like a snake, right? I just want to go into it and just make my final point. Told an obvious truth that Jehovah is the God of UBUNAZARETHA. Right? Right? And Jehovah is basically who they call the King of the Jews. Right? But the lie is the fact that sorry, my bad. I'm actually not going to go this. The truth that he is the founder of the UBUNAZARETHA. UBUNAZARETHA movement. The lie So the lie is that so this is the truth that SHEMBE, Isaiah is the founder. The lie is the king that comes after him is the founder. So this is why Shembe is depicted as being a snake. Right? Because he's misled the congregants to believing that he's the founder of the movement, but he in fact is not. And through this being misled, Shembe does a whole lot of other things as well that misleads the congregants into thinking that Jehovah is their God. But when you take the vow of Nazariteship, you say, but on paper, Jehovah is their God. But in reality, INKOSI PHAKAMENI is God. So this is how Shembe, like the snake, is tricking, is telling an obvious truth, but misleading people back to the reality, back to the Garden of Eden, back to the paradise on earth that was described in the Bible. So this is why in the story that I just told, the folktale that is told amongst the UBUNAZARETHA, to remind themselves that the founder of the movement, the true founder of the movement, is the king that comes after Isaiah Shembe, is the coming king. So very important, right? Very important. So this is all I wanted to say, and I hope this makes sense. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Going to a lost video. Alright.